The Premier League is here for Arsenal. They travel to Manchester United looking to pick up the perfect start to their brand new season. It's Victor Gyökeres versus Benjamin Sesko. Mikel Arteta versus Ruben Amorim. Arsenal, Man United, a Premier League classic awaits. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys and girls with another episode of what is our Arsenal Transfer Show. Joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much as always for joining me. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic weekend so far and that you're ready for the Sunday of your dreams as Arsenal kick off their Premier League campaign away with Manchester United, the opponent, Ruben Amorim, Benjamin Sesko, Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha and all the like. Of course, facing down an Arsenal team with hopes and dreams of a Premier League title, having already witnessed their main title rivals both score 4 goals on their opening day of their respective seasons. If Arsenal can repeat the feat, it would be the biggest statement of the season so far. Good morning to all of you joining us live in the chat box. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Very much appreciate you being here. Martin Harvey, Claire, good morning to you, to Granddaddy Gooner, to Lucas, to Kirill. Good morning to Paul Jr., who's been a member now for 18 months on the channel. Thank you to you. Andy, we've got Kirill, we've got Spearmint, we've got Carrie Ann and Scouse Gooner, we've got Colin. Gary, good morning to you, to John, to who else we've got? Lucas, we've got... Scrolling down the chat box a little bit more, Spearmint, as always, Maxine, Connor, we've got Trader Mike, we've got Jonas, we've got Black Shine, of course, and Chris. Good morning to so many of you joining us. We've got Brian and Zombie Steen. So many. It's always great to see so many of you in the chat box. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back, of course, all through the season. This is not over with the close of the transfer window, I should say, sorry. We do these shows every single day. So if you could be ever so kind, of course, to drop a like on the video, that would be, if I can get this camera sorted out, greatly appreciated. Right, let's jump into today's stories. We begin today, unsurprisingly so, with the transfer news before we go into more regarding kind of the football that's actually relevant to Arsenal, because this story is not going to be relevant for Arsenal, it seems, much longer. We'll start with the bad. We'll build into the good news. I think that's probably the better way to do it. And it does seem that Tottenham Hotspur are closing in on a move for Eberechi Eze, unchallenged, as Arsenal remain unmoved, it appears, in this chase for the player. I genuinely didn't expect that it would happen so quickly after I sat down the other day, earlier this week, and we did that show, which was just basically... I'm so sorry. It's really kind of, it's amazing to me how kind of quickly things can change, how the mood and the feel around a single transfer story can change. And, you know, when we sat here and did that story and we were talking about the idea that I wasn't necessarily confident anymore that Arsenal were indeed going to be moving for Eze, and that it was unlikely in my mind that it would be a deal that we got done. Well, it has spiraled in that direction. And it is a frustration because he's a player that I desperately have wanted to see at Arsenal. And it's going to be very painful to see him play for Arsenal's North London rivals. And all I can say to this is that I sincerely hope that we have a plan for that 7th signing. And I know that there is emphasis on a natural left winger. And I know there is emphasis on moving players out as a priority. But so far, those players aren't being moved out. Arsenal today will need to leave 7 senior players out of the team. 7 will not be included in Arsenal's matchday squad that have been training with the group this week. Now, it's obvious who some of those are, and we know that a lot of those are being linked with moves away from the club. But that is telling, very telling. 7 players needing to be left out of the matchday squad today. Arsenal need to move players on. We need to move the players beyond Arsenal and then get that final signing done. And in my opinion, that needs to be, a left-sided player and a player that can add plenty to the attack as well. And maybe it hinges also on the future of Leo Trossard too. But I hope that it doesn't. But it sounds like it does. Moving, though, into the Arsenal on the pitch stuff, and we'll come back to Eze, I'm sure, in part 2 and some of your questions and some of your thoughts around that as well. But Arsenal, of course, beating Norwich in their under-18s match. Hashi and Kader O'Neill with goals to complete a comeback after going 1-0 down. Definitely a positive sign for the under-18s. Of course, with Adam Birchall still leading them moving forwards. But our under-21s did not get off to a winning start. Tommy Setford involved for them alongside plenty of players that have been in action over the pre-season tour, like Marley Salmon. You can see, of course, Andre Harriman Anous as well, and Louis Copley, all involved. Josh Nichols, you can see there, but unfortunately couldn't secure the victory with under-21s and lost 3-2 at home despite goals from Ismail Kabia and Sago Jr. And speaking of Ismail Kabia, he did indeed sign a brand new contract with the club. The 19-year-old has been confirmed and has signed that brand new professional contract with Arsenal. So him with Per Mertesacker, you can listen to his interview, of course, in full on the Arsenal website. But he says, I think for me personally, it's anything a kid could dream of, honestly. I think the 8 minutes I did get, even though I really didn't touch the ball too much, even get the opportunity to step onto the pitch last season, it was mind-blowing. Of course, he made his debut at the senior level for Arsenal last season. I think it was in the Carabao Cup. Playing in front of such a big crowd can be intimidating, but he said, I think it's just pressure, really. But at the end of the day, pressure forms diamonds. So I think you can play under pressure well, then you can play anywhere. But you can read that full interview with Arsenal's brand newly renewed Ismail Kabia on the Arsenal website. A roundup of yesterday's Premier League action following on from Liverpool's 4-2 win over Bournemouth. We saw a rather predictable 0-0 draw between two sides who, frankly, do need more firepower at the moment. That's Aston Villa and Newcastle. Despite Villa going down to 10 men, they began the season with that 0-0 draw. Two teams whose hopes of European football this season could be under more scrutiny than many maybe predicted, with Alexander Isak not involved in that game at all. Brighton and Hove Albion drew 1-1 with Fulham. Sunderland with probably a surprise victory, maybe not for many, but still at the size that it was. 3-0 win over West Ham United. Tottenham began their season with a 3-0 win over another team destined, I think, for the drop in Burnley, with a 3-0 win there. And Manchester City, with Tijani Reinders being particularly impressive, and Erling Haaland, who got a couple of goals as well, in a 4-0 win over another team, probably in my mind destined for the drop, and that is Wolves this season, 4-0 in that game. Today's games, you've got early kickoffs between Chelsea and Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest and Brentford. Those are both 2 o'clock kickoffs UK time. And then it's the big one, Manchester United versus Arsenal, 4:30 p.m. UK time. I'll be there at Old Trafford, bringing you all the latest updates on the Football.London website and hoping to witness quite the victory at the start of this brand new Premier League season. And speaking of bringing good news, there was good news in the form of what we saw leaked as Arsenal's players headed off on the train up to Manchester yesterday. Both Max Dowman and Martin Zubimendi, as well as Leandro Trossard, all involved in the travelling squad. So, as I mentioned yesterday, and I tweeted this out, if Max Dowman is to be involved in the Premier League squad, as many as 7 senior players will be left out of action for Arsenal. And who those 7 players are, we'll have to wait and see. But it shows you just quite how big the squad is at the moment. It is very, very, very big. But no, and Spinman, yes, they're taking trains. We usually get trains up to Manchester because it's very easy to go from London to Manchester on the train, as I will be doing not so long after we finish today's show. Let's move, though, to part 2, which is not our questions just quite yet. It's this. Yes, of course, the preview show for the new Premier League season, of course, incorporated into our match day 8 a.m. episodes, is back. We're looking ahead to Arsenal's next fixture in the midfield, the forward line, the defence that we would like to see, that I would like to see, and to get your thoughts and, of course, predictions as well. So, let's indeed look through it. For me, this is the team that I'd like to see selected on the day. David Raya, of course, in goal. Jurriën Timber, William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Ricardo Calafiori as the back four. In midfield, Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice in their midfield pivot. Plenty of excitement around how we see that relationship developing over the course of the season. Martin Ødegaard as my number 10, and it is a number 10 role that I'd like to see him played in. Bukayo Saka on the right, Noni Madueke on the left, and Victor Gyökeres up top is what I would like to see Mikel Arteta go with. I have been torn at the right back position. Timber and Ben White. He's had a really good pre-season so far, and he could have easily been selected for my right back slot, but I've gone with Jurriën Timber. And of course, the other big kind of call is the left-hand side. I just think Madueke's really impressed me in a couple of little cameos. He looks dangerous. He looks ready. He looks good in training. He's looking sharp. He's looking determined. And I think he wants to get into that starting lineup and knows that he can do that on Arsenal's left flank. So I'm curious to see what he can do. And I'm curious to know what you think is going to happen. I know some of you would probably put Martinelli into the 11, but I think he'd be quite good coming off the bench with the pace and the speed that he can bring as well. But let's get some of your predictions, scorelines, scorers, if indeed you have them. So I'm personally ready for this. I'm personally going for an Arsenal 3-0 victory in this game. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling silly. And I always do at the beginning of the season. There is a lot of optimism always at the start of the season for that to be ripped away from you coldly and harshly, and that may happen. But I'm going for a Arsenal 3-0 win. Plenty of positivity in the chat box, it seems, as well. Jamie's going for a 2-0 victory for Arsenal. Everyone's going 4-1 to the Arsenal. Saka, Brace, Gyökeres and Havertz to round out the scoring. Ødegaard and Zubimendi with braces of assists themselves. Connie's going for a 3-1 Arsenal win. Maximius going for a 2-1 Arsenal victory. Spearmint reckons a Sesko hat-trick's coming. NSW also going for a 2-0 Man United victory. Maggi says 2-0 Arsenal. Lucas says 2-1 Arsenal. Alex says 2-1 Arsenal with Sesko, Saka and Rice on the score sheet. Black Shine's going for a 3-1 Arsenal victory. Domstomp's going for 3-0. Not sure, though, which way that one is going. AJ says, Jesus, 3-0. Jesus Christ. Yeah, look, we're going for positivity this morning. Aiden says 3-0 Gunners. Wu-Tang Forever says 3-1 Arsenal. Patrick says 3-1 Gyökeres, Brace and Saka involved. Temi, though, thinks we're going to lose 4-0. Kicking off the season with his reverse psychology, of course, with a Sesko hat-trick, showing us what we're missing in a late Saliba own goal on a red card. Love that from Temi. Always ever the present negativity in the chat. Barry says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Brad says 3-1. Knowledge says 2-0. Granddaddy Goon is going 3-1 and Ryan's going 2-1. I'll continue to throw up your predictions and more as we go to part 3 of today's episode and your questions right after this. Right, this is part 3 of today's Arsenal news and transfer and preview show. So if you've got questions you'd like to throw into the chat box, now is the time to do so. Of course, kind of a lot of the discussion around today's game, of course, but also that transfer story involving Eberechi Eze with a move increasingly more likely to go to Tottenham Hotspur right now as well. And your feelings, of course. Now, just to discuss, I do cause a little bit of stir sometimes on social media when I do drop a tweet. And yesterday's tweet, I think, did just that, in which the big discussion was kind of around this whole numerical argument with Arsenal, which I think is complete rubbish, to be fair. Like, while it's, true in only numbers terms, it's not true in the sense and the spirit of what the argument is. This idea that Arsenal only replace what they've lost in the transfer window numerically, to me, is a bit strange. Each signing we've made has upgraded the role that they have come in and filled in the squad. If we can sign one more attacker, it would be top, but not getting it, for me, doesn't mean that we failed in the window. It means we would have failed in one of those aspects. But overall, this has been a very good window in terms of incomings for Arsenal so far. That's my opinion, my view on the window so far. And I do think that people's judgment is being clouded by this 7th signing and also that Eze situation as well as to what Arsenal have actually done in the window. Daniel says, all window, you've said that we signed Madueke as Saka's backup, and it's separate to Eze and Rodrigo. But first game of the season, we're playing him off the left. I saw this coming. We need a world-class left wing. In my defense, Daniel, I did say that he's coming in to predominantly be Saka's number 2, and he is still doing that. And I'm actually quite surprised by how much Arteta seems to be already inclined to use him. But what's the point in having a mind, Daniel, if you don't change it? And my mind has changed around Madueke. It does seem that Arteta is very willing to use him on that left-hand side. But I agree with you that we still need to bring in reinforcement on that left-hand side. So, and while it was always, yes, separate, that deal was separate to Eze and Rodrigo. Arsenal always wanted to sign 3 attackers. The problem with the third attacker is that they need to sell. They need to sell before they move for those players, because we have 7 players missing out on this matchday squad. They have to move players on. Our squad is far too big right now, and we need to move those players forward. UEFA FFP is also something to consider. I know PSR, and I've said this before, is not a problem. But profit and sustainability regulations are not really what are the things that are heavily impacting on Arsenal. It's UEFA FFP that continues to be something the club wants to work very comfortably within. We've just seen the likes of Nottingham Forest and Chelsea receive fines, of course, this season from those breaches. So from an Arsenal perspective, that's what is the reality right now. Patrick says, do you think there's more to this Eze story than meets the eye? Is it a case that there was a clash between Berta and Arteta? I always got the impression that Arteta never wanted him. I mean, I don't know where you got that impression from, Patrick. Arteta has been a huge fan of Eze for a long time. It's not been a clash, no. And if anything, they would have been rather aligned on the signing, but they're also aligned on recognising that at the moment the squad is far too big and they need to move players forward. Adam says, do you think we missed our window of opportunity to win the league? Last 3 seasons, it seems the league has caught up. I mean, no. I think Arsenal are going into this season once again as very much one of the potential candidates to win it. So, no, I don't think so. Maxine says, what's this I hear about a swap deal for Rodrigo? Swap with who? Yeah, I wouldn't really read too much into that. Tom says, wouldn't you say that it's a risky picking up the 2 defensively weaker options on the left in Calafiori and Madueke against the huge threat that Mbeumo will cause? I mean, arguably, Calafiori is better defensively than the Miles Lewis-Skelly. Many, I think, would argue that point and offers us more defensively than him. He's stronger and he's good, but he's also easily caught out at times, Lewis-Skelly, with his positioning, because he's still learning the trade as a left-back. So I'd argue that Miles Lewis-Skelly is slightly weaker than Calafiori defensively. But kind of as an all-round game, he's very impressive. Gareth says, given the fact that Arteta says he's been happy with what he has, do you think that we will still sign a winger? I'm not sure now. I think that Arteta thinks the squad is complete. I don't think Arteta thinks it's complete. I think Arteta is being rather political when it comes to his press conferences. I think they recognise, of course, as we've been discussing, they have a lot of players and they need to move some on before they make a late push for potentially another option. And if it is to be another option, then I think it would be a left-sided player, as I did report in that story earlier in the week, rather than Eze, who is seen by the club, no matter what I or you or others think, happily would see Eze come to Arsenal. He's seen as a more central player. And when Ethan Nwaneri signed that new contract, it did have a significant impact on Arsenal's interest and potential of signing Eze, it does turn out. Jack says, Tom, according to the financial expert Kieran Maguire, Arsenal have massive PSR headroom and can spend a lot more if they wanted to. Why do you think we aren't spending? Well, as I kind of touched upon, Jack, there, it's UEFA financial fair play, I'm told, is the stricter parameter that Arsenal want to work comfortably within. PSR is more free for Arsenal, but it isn't in the case of UEFA financial fair play. But also, as again, the main reason is the space. It's the players that exist here and the players they feel they need to move on first. We haven't sold anyone since Marquinhos was sold. That's the last, and Nuno Tavares was confirmed. That was it. We haven't sold anyone else. That's not good enough in terms of outgoings. Ronnie says, Tom, don't you think the reason we are not really moving anymore in the market is also because of Jesus' recovery? I don't think so. I think that's always, been on the cards as well. Vishal says, I have a bad feeling about today. United have a really good attack and they will probably play to their strengths, but do you think their style could be a double-edged sword? I'm hoping that we can exploit it. I'm feeling good about today. I feel that we can, exploit those issues that United have, and I think we can be strong enough defensively to hold on and hold out from their attacking quality that they now have in this current team. So Nicholas says, if Madueke is better than both of the options on the left, and we didn't play him because he was bought to be a backup to Saka, then we wouldn't be smart now, would we? Very good point. Malcolm says, where would you rank our attacking personnel against the rest of the league? So Saka, Gyökeres, and Madueke. This is like a front three. If we say that's our front three right now, is that better than Liverpool's Ekitike, Salah, and Gakpo? I don't think so. Is it better than Doku, Haaland, and who's on the right at the moment? Is Silva playing? Let me just check with that. Who it was yesterday? City, Wolves. Who played? Was it Oscar Bob? I think started maybe on the right. So, I mean, I don't particularly rate Doku too highly personally. I think you've known that for quite a while. I think he's been a poor signing for them. So, Saka's better than Bob. Haaland's better than Gyökeres, and I think Madueke and Doku's I think Madueke can become better than Doku, if not already. So I'd say Arsenal slightly, and obviously when you add Ødegaard into that as well, Reinders has been impressive so far. So it's quite close between those two. Chelsea's front three, Chelsea fixtures so far this season. They played Milan recently in a friendly. They've got João Pedro, Jamie Gittins, and Pedro Neto as their front three. I think Arsenal's is better than theirs personally. Cole Palmer is the 10, obviously a very, very impressive player. It's quite close, those players. But I think it's the midfields where Arsenal start to take the edge, with Rice and Zubimendi. And you look at the best defensive pairing in the world, in Gabriel and Saliba, I think. And then you've got a great player in Timber. And our left-hand side at the back is a question mark at the moment. And we'll see if indeed Calafiori can rise above what our expectations have been of him. I really do hope that's the case. Let's go to Gary. Says, can you see the departures moving quicker once those players realise that they're the ones being omitted? I don't think that's ever been the case. I think they recognise they're not going to be in the squad. It's just a case of the buyers being there. People always put the emphasis for some reason on Arsenal and the execs to move the players on. You need the buying club. You need the interest. And so far, that's not progressing. And you also want us to sell well when those buyers come in. You don't want to get mugged off when it comes to, the money that we make for those players. Raf says, when you think of how many people are sitting at home today, can you understand why we want to sell first? But I don't think we are currently good enough in the attacking areas. I think that Arsenal have a lot of quality in attack. If we're talking about we need one more, I don't think that one more is the difference between Arsenal winning or not winning the title personally. I think Arsenal have a squad that is good enough to win the title right now, but it would be great if we could add another one to just give us that extra reinforcement. But I think Arsenal's team is good enough to win the league as of right now. I think the 6 signings that we've made have upgraded every single one of those roles, not just in terms of quality, but in terms of reliability and availability. Madueke is a massive step up on Sterling. Kepa's a big step up on Neto. Mosquera is a big step up in terms of availability on Tomiyasu, of course, and potentially quality too. I think Zubimendi is going to prove to be a big step up on Partey. I think Norgaard's going to offer us more reliable and consistent availability, of course, as well, and consistent quality, and I think also stylism to what this team provides compared to what Jorginho would have given us this season, moving into his 34th year, I think. So I look at the deal, and Gyökeres, of course, I think goes without saying. So everything Arsenal have done has put Arsenal into a stronger position at this point compared to last time out. So I'm looking forward to this moving forwards and seeing what this team brings as well. Claire says, Tom, I'd like to brag about being joint top of your Discord FPL league, getting my brag in now as I know that it won't last. Well, I don't think I'm top. I don't think I'm anywhere near top already, although I did put Haaland as my captain this week. Yeah, if you want to join our FPL league, you can go to the link tree down in the description and it will take you to our link tree page where you can find all the details to our social pages and, of course, the FPL invite as well. But the FPL code, if you don't have to do all that, is on your screen now, I think. HYZO9S is the code. That is the code to our FPL league. Go and check it out. A couple more comments before we have to wrap up a little bit early today because, of course, I've got a pack. I'm staying over in Manchester tonight ahead of this train ride. Guys, I'm so nervous, says Just Saying. fingers crossed for our Gunners. So Nicholas says, I think people need to also remember that Gyökeres likes to come on from the left-hand side, and the presence alone is going to open up space for Saka and Ødegaard that hasn't been there now for a couple of years. Anthony says, Tom, well, where have we seen transfers like this before? Only Arsenal, who can't sell players or block a youth player, but it seems that we miss out on a target every season. I mean, I haven't seen a summer like this, really, from Arsenal. Arsenal going for the top scorer in Europe over the last 2 seasons, the best number 6 on the market that we could have signed, a wild card signing in Madueke, who you could argue is very different to what we already have in attack, a left footer that can potentially now play on the left for us. I'm intrigued to see how that works. We work shrewdly to add some real bargains. You know, Arsenal have been really guilty of overspending on players, but 12 million on Norgard, 15 million on Mosquera, 5 million on Kepa, and hopefully one more before the end of the season. End of the summer, would be nice as well. Martin says, it's guaranteed that we will be first to have a penalty given against us for grappling. Let's wait and see. An upgrade on Ødegaard, Anthony. I mean, goodness me, if you want an upgrade on Ødegaard, good luck, is what I'd say. Good luck, mate. Good luck getting that. But we've got Ethan Nwaneri, obviously signed up to a brand new contract as well. That's great bit of news. I can't believe the disparagement a lot of people suddenly are talking about. He's not ready. Why? Why is he not ready? He's 18. He's the youngest Premier League debutant of all time. He was one of the top impressors in pre-season. Just because of people's insecurities and desperation for transfers doesn't mean you have to talk down on one of the most exciting talents in Premier League football right now. It's embarrassing how some people, frankly, have suddenly turned on Eze because they're so desperate for a signing. I am too. I really want us to sign that 7th player. I really want us to sign a player. I absolutely desperately want to see us sign a left-sided player in particular. But the way in which people are talking about Nwaneri is absolutely nuts. Absolutely insane how some people have suddenly turned on Nwaneri. All last season it was, drop Ødegaard, bring in Nwaneri. Why is he not playing Nwaneri? Play Nwaneri. Why isn't he bringing him in? What's going on with Nwaneri? Arteta hates Nwaneri, and now it's sign Eze. Nwaneri's not ready. So, come on. Get a grip. Honestly, get a hold of yourselves. It's ridiculous how things change so quickly just because of the way in which people act about transfers. Baz says, how gutting to see Hutchinson go for £37.5 million. I guess there was nothing we could have done. Sadly not. He really pushed for that exit. Arsenal got a sell-on clause, which they did earn money from when he signed from Chelsea to Ipswich. But yeah, it's a lot of money. Stu says, Tom, are you saddened that Arsenal have only bought 4 forwards of true quality since 2006? Eduardo, Alexis, Aubameyang, and probably Gyökeres doesn't show the ambition or sense of a big club either. I mean, the way in which Arsenal have had forwards so far since 2006, of course, is that we've had them already. You know, we've had players. You know, I mean, I personally think that Theo Walcott scoring over 100 goals for Arsenal, Olivier Giroud scored over 100 goals for Arsenal during their time here. So I think, you know, if you're putting Eduardo in that list, I think you've probably got to put those 2 in that list as well. But I think that Arsenal create a lot of really good players as well. You know, we've created Bukayo Saka and shown that he can be an absolutely brilliant player. We've produced Ethan Nwaneri, of course, as well. And who knows, maybe Max Dowman is going to enter that group too. But is Havertz... I mean, it's interesting if you put Eduardo, but not Havertz in there as well. I think Havertz is as good of a player, if not better, potentially, than Eduardo. And I know that Eduardo showed loads when he first burst into the scene before that awful injury. But for me, I'd happily put Havertz among that selection. And also, hopefully, Gyökeres. And who knows? Is Madueke going to join that group as well? We can wait and see. I don't like how people talk so conclusively about Madueke already. We've not even seen him play yet. So I wouldn't go as far as saying Podolski or Perez, though, Jonas. I think you might be taking things a little far with that as well. Let's go to Chris says, Nwaneri is one of the few players who won something last season, and he won the European Championship with the under-21s as well. Lucas says, plus, if we don't sign another player, we have the best 15-year-old wonder kid that can also play potentially at number 10. Who else have we got in the chat as well? Let's get Black Shine says, he is more than ready. Sometimes we forget how old Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney, and those guys were when they made their first team debuts. Our own star boy, of course, as well. TG says, I was at the game yesterday and the ref was holding his fingers up to the goalkeepers to let them know he was counting to 8 seconds. Interesting. It wasn't and hasn't really been followed. so stringently this season. I haven't seen it so stringently followed this season yet, but that's interesting. World of Fuzi says, what shirt are you wearing today, Tom? Or are you even allowed? No, I cannot wear an Arsenal shirt into the Man United press box. That would be, I can't wear one into the Arsenal press box, let alone the Man United press box. So no, that would be kind of brave if I did that. But no, it's certainly not something I'll be doing. So it'll be a smart shirt for the start of the season, I think. Shirt and jeans. I don't know how warm it's going to be up in Manchester. It's always kind of like, you never want to be the guy who wears the shorts to the press box, but Manchester, let's see what the weather's going to be like today, shall we? 16 degrees. So, but it is going to warm up in the afternoon. It'll be 23 degrees by, wow. Yeah, it'll be 24 degrees. Maybe jeans is not the one. Maybe it will be a short stay. Yeah, it's going to be warm in there from the sounds of things. So, warm one. Namdi says, I'm always nervous when we play at Old Trafford, no matter how poor they are in form. I believe their front three are better, but our defences, let's hope that we can cope better. And the ref is good too. Well, we can keep those fingers crossed, of course, as well. Wear an Arsenal shirt under the smart shirt, Tom. Come on. Yeah, I mean, most of the time Arsenal shirts are so well designed that they shine through those shirts. So I don't think I can get away with that. Namdi says also Eze was once Winery. The disparagement of Eze Ethan, just shows how the same of us are quite shallow. Last season we wanted him in every game, and now he's not ready. I think this is I'm going to finish on this point about Winery because I do believe in it quite strongly. I think the way in which he's suddenly been spoken about this summer because of people's desperation around transfers is really bad. Genuinely really bad. And I think it's exposed a lot of the fragilities in the mentality of Arsenal fans around transfers. I really think it has. We did a poll, I think, before on, would people see Eze come in or sell Ethan Winery? And it was so strongly in favour of Eze. And I personally wouldn't compromise. I wouldn't compromise on Ethan Winery's quality and potential to sign Eze. I love Eze as a footballer. I think he's potentially a world-class player. But I'm sorry, I think we can keep Ethan Winery and still sign someone else if we move those players on between now and the end of this summer. And I think we can do that while keeping Winery as well. So, yeah. Just heads up, I don't tend to read comments that are written in caps lock. You're shouting into the chat box is going to get your comments read out any more than anybody else. But when it comes to Winery, I absolutely cannot be asked to deal with people's disparagement of a young 18-year-old who has shown loads of talent. He's still got loads to do. He's still got lots to improve. He's still got growing to do physically. I mean, he's shown some really impressive physical stature actually this summer. There's a couple of moves he did in pre-season where I think people have already forgotten them. And he's beaten a man, he's held a player off and got in some great locations to create chances. But yeah, let's see what happens today. Let's see who's involved, who's not involved as well. That's also a question we've got to ask. And Ren says, Tom, I asked Grok who would win the league, and it said Arsenal. Try it out in a tweet. I'm absolutely not going to not going to ask Grok anything. I can't stand the way X has turned. It's honest. I think it's. I'm sorry if you're this person. I'm really sorry if you're this person, right? But at the end of the day, people ask Grok far too many questions. People used to look things up themselves. People used to learn things. I've had people asking the most ridiculous things to Grok in response to some tweets I've put out. It's so silly. I had one where I had a moment where someone asked a question. What was it the other day? I tweeted the quote from Arteta about Ødegaard and the captaincy situation. And someone replied to the tweet and said, Grok, is this true? And Grok said, no. Mikel Arteta has never said anything about Ødegaard and a vote for captaincy. And the person replied and said, thank you. I knew it was misinformation. And I was like, what? It's a quote from the press conference. Like, it's nuts how people are so reliant on AI. You know, I use AI now and again. It's a helpful tool for certain things. But if you're leaning on it, oh my goodness gracious me. You know, I think it's a tool that could be used in really effective ways. But my goodness, if you're leaning on it that much, oh, that's scary. Very, very scary. Scary, scary indeed. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to, of course, catching up with you all from a hotel in Manchester tomorrow morning, where we'll be discussing the result of today's game. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.